Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel, Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm going to be discussing the couple books that I read in June. I have attempted filming this at least 3 times today and it's been driving me slowly nuts, so I really don't want to spend much time on the preamble. I read 4 books. One I technically finished in August, but I just feel like talking about it here and now to get it over with. And yeah, let's just get into it. Hopefully this is quick. I got a lot of shit to get done. First book I completed in June was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is a very, very hyped new adult romance between the Prince of Wales and the first son of the United States President. So many people have given this such glowing ratings that I wanted to see what the hype was about, and I guess I felt like reading a romance. The story as a whole was wonderful. I thought it was incredibly charming and funny. I really loved the characters. I really adored the romance between Henry and Alex. Their relationship was lovely to watch develop. I really enjoyed basically everything about their relationship. I thought their communication was great, chemistry on point. I loved the loving and caring side of their relationship. It was truly a great quality relationship, and that's not something I say often. I didn't love all of the political stuff that went on. The stuff that pertained to their relationship, I understood and was invested in, but anytime there was sort of shop talk about other politic stuff, I just kind of zoned out. It wasn't super engaging for me personally. I thought this was a really great story. I can foresee myself rereading this in the future. I think this will stand the test of time very well. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Actually, hold on. Wait. I've tried filming this so many times that I forgot to insert this obligatory part here. For Red, White, and Royal Blue, I am so irritated by all of the people that are describing their relationship and this book as explicit. This is a new adult story. Sex is going to occur. It's part of new adult. That's to be expected of a new adult story. I myself have not read a lot of romance books, but I can decidedly tell you that I've read a lot more books, or a lot of them are explicit, like actually graphically describing what's happening as opposed to describing the sort of emotional side of sex. And it's just been driving me nuts that so many people have been describing it as explicit. I know there are a lot of young adult readers picking this story up to be excited about this book, but you have to acknowledge that even if you're not used to the genre, because otherwise it comes off as kind of homophobic, and I'm tired of it. I've seen it quite a few times. It's irritating. That was a fun note to end that on. The next book I read was Ash by Melinda Lowe. I was very, very excited to read this story because it seems to be a staple in queer lit, a young adult retelling of Cinderella that features a female-female romance. Unfortunately, this book, in my opinion, doesn't quite stand the test of time. I think the state of publishing kind of hurt this story. I don't blame the author or her work. I blame publishing. And I guess I'm so used to queer representation being on the page and fully written, even if certain labels aren't used, you can tell when a book is actually queer. This book really shied away from that and kind of really just slightly hints and nudges towards that there might be a female-female relationship developing until the very end. Frankly, this would have been an amazing story as a middle grade. The romance was incredibly sweet and innocent, so it would have been well suited to middle grade, now that I'm thinking of it. There's also the addition of Faye in here, which I was not expecting. I just think the story wasn't super strong itself as well. Our main character, Ash, has basically zero agency. She just kind of wades throughout the story. She just lets all this stuff happen to her and has no true emotion or feelings towards what's happening to her. She's just kind of like, well, my life sucks. That being said, when we finally get to the female-female relationship, I was very happy with it. I understand how this story could have been so validating to so many young queer people who had no books that were queer 10 years ago. I did enjoy this story. I just think my expectations let me down on this one. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I completed was There's Something About Sweetie by Cynthia Manon. I mentioned that this book had great significance to me in my mid-year book freakout tag. This follows 2 main perspectives, our title character being Sweetie, who is a fat Indian teen girl who also is an athlete, and she kind of is really struggling, not with herself, but the way that society treats her. And our second perspective is from Ashish, who we met in When Dimple Met Rishi. He was brutally dumped, and he's been really trying to piece himself back together. These two find their way to one another and decide that they're going to try and date to basically prove to the world that they are okay. I personally loved reading a story about a young teen girl who was fat, but also an A-list track star who is going to go to college for it, just successful and thriving. The romance in here was very sweet. I could see why the two of them were drawn to one another, albeit it was a bit rushed. I loved reading from Sweetie and her perspective. I loved that she was utterly confident in herself, but also had some struggles and was dealing with some internalized things from society. Really appreciated that. I would have liked the story to be a little bit more nuanced. I also really wanted more of their hobbies to be explored. I had this complaint also in When Dimple Met Rishi. I wanted more of the coding in that book, and in this book I wanted more of their athleticism. I didn't want to just read stories about them being athletes and then just getting a line like, she crushed it at practice. I wanted to see a fat athlete thriving in her element, actually practicing and running and doing the work. And it was kind of brushed to the side, and we're just supposed to assume what's happening. The romance was sweet. The character development was good. I'm excited for the next book in this sort of companion series. And I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. This was a very validating story, and I'm very glad that this exists. The last book I read, technically finished in August, but I really need to talk about it now because I also started it in May, and that's Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. This is Neil Gaiman and his take on Norse mythology and kind of retelling a bunch of Old Norse myth. I enjoyed this, I will say. However, I picked it up very sparingly over the past couple months, and that kind of dulled my enjoyment a little bit. I did listen to this on audio and quite enjoyed the format. Side note, Neil Gaiman can narrate anything. I will listen to anything he narrates. Oh my god, his voice is great. I loved all the stories and things that had to deal with Loki. I think Loki is a fascinating character, and I love seeing all the interpretations of him. I just wasn't left with too many impressions of this. If you're interested in mythology at all, I would recommend picking it up. I ended up giving this 3.5 out of 5 stars. Let me know down in the comments below any thoughts you have about any of the books I read this month or in June. I would love to discuss in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!